This is a Gear Network production.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's your boy, Mr. Perez, and you're listening to the Better Live Than Dead podcast, brought to you exclusively on Gear Network. Listen in.
Welcome to the Better Live Than Dead podcast, episode number 29.
29.
Can you believe it?
I like it.
We're getting to that point where we're almost at our midlife crisis of the podcast.
Really?
Hit our 30s and we get the midlife crisis. I don't know, 30s or 40. I'm only 23, so I don't know when the midlife crisis happens. I feel like it happens to me now, and I'm like, I'm only 23. If
Yeah,
this is
dude,
my
you're
midlife, you know,
way too early to be having a midlife crisis.
I just like to make excuses and complain about things.
You know, I always thought midlife crisis was like 40s because, you live to be 80, 85, 90.
I mean, what if you're like 40, 35, 40, you have a midlife crisis, you live to like 110?
That'd be crazy.
You could have two midlife crises.
That's true.
Crises.
I'm up there.
Crises or crises?
Crises.
Okay, so I thought.
Or crises.
Crises. Multiple deer is deer.
Right.
Whatever.
So I haven't had a midlife crisis yet.
That's good.
Yeah.
Until you show up one day and they're going to have like a Jerry curl wig on and you're going to be driving
Dude, I used to have an afro.
Oh, I got to see pictures.
It's not that far off.
I think I've seen pictures.
So
maybe looking like Prince out of Purple Rain or something.
making people pancakes.
Hey, if that's your midlife crisis, man, I'm not going to complain. With that being said, I'm Ryan Wolf. Across me, Mr. Perez. We are Better Live Than Dead.
What's up, peoples?
Episode 29, as mentioned before. Got a lot of good stuff to talk about today. A lot of football, as you may suspect, because really this is the last time we're going to talk football for a little while.
Crazy.
At least until next month.
Right.
Because March 10th is the beginning of free agency. A lot of big names out there, but we're not going to
There is a lot of big names.
Not going to talk about that today. We're going to talk about a lot of news. First off, a lot of news you need to know, front and back of a page alone of news that we can discuss. Then we've got the Super Bowl. That's the Super Bowl. We're going to talk about the Super Bowl, man.
Okay.
What a game that was.
That was a very good game.
But before I don't want to talk about it right now. Because if we talk about it now, that's going to be we're just going to go on from here on out and just talk about the podcast.
Okay.
So, as per usual, before we do anything, we're going to shoot it over to the news you need to know.
News.
And we're going to get caught up.
You need to know.
On the last week in sports.
That's right.
Starting off in the National Basketball Association, the Atlanta Hawks, 17-0 in the month of January. Most wins in a calendar month without a loss, besting the previous record of 16-0 set by last year's San Antonio Spurs.
The Hawks are looking good.
They are.
The Hawks are looking mighty good.
I mean, right now, if I had to guess, I would say Hawks and Warriors in the final, and that would be a good final because both of those teams are playing phenomenal basketball.
Yeah, but I mean, the way the Cleveland Cavaliers are playing right now, you're looking maybe at a Cleveland Hawks.
Oh, yeah, the Hawks are.
East Finals.
I was about to say, I don't understand. I thought I was putting two West teams, but no, the Hawks are on the East Coast. That's the Eastern Conference. Well, hey, if you give me a Cleveland Cavalier Atlanta Hawk Eastern Conference final, I would be pretty happy with that at this point.
Yeah, me too.
The Hawks' 19-game win streak was snapped versus the New Orleans Pelicans in their first game in February. Moving over to Dallas now, Mavericks, Rajon Rondo was out with facial fractures after he was kneed in the face accidentally by teammate Richard Jefferson.
Which sucks.
Houston Rockets, Dwight Howard is out 4 more weeks at least. His right knee is not recovering from a recent issue, and he just had another procedure with something injected into it or whatever. I don't know. Basketball players do weird things with their knees.
Yes, they do.
The Orlando Magic fire head coach Jacques Vaughn, who was 58 and 158 in his third season overall. He was in his third year of work with the team, of 58 and 158 record overall. That's not good.
No.
Just not good at all. Moving over to Major League Baseball now, the Boston Red Sox agreed to a 3-year deal with Wade Miley, avoiding arbitration. The interesting thing about that is I believe that wraps up another season for the Boston Red Sox of not going to arbitration, which they have not done since 2002. That's a pretty impressive record.
That is pretty impressive.
My phone is trying to make noises at me right now as I'm talking. That's disrespectful.
Yeah, phone.
I'm trying to get these stats popped up because I want to discuss a gentleman. Okay. Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim outfielder Josh Hamilton out 6 to 8 weeks after surgery on his AC joint. He injured it last year, played in the playoffs instead of taking time off.
I tore my AC joint.
Ew.
I separated my AC joint.
That's painful.
I never had surgery, though.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, in his 2 years in Anaheim, after signing a massive deal, he is batting not 266. He's batting 255 after batting 305 with Texas.
Right.
He's got 31 home runs in 2 seasons with the Angels. That's not good after signing that massive contract he has. And I'll tell you what, he has been quite a disappointment. In this upcoming season, he's making $25.4 million.
Yeah, he needs to step his game up. Literally.
I don't know if... I mean, it's a good story. He's been a good story. He was the first overall pick.
Right.
Had a drug problem, came back from it. He took the world by storm.
Right.
All that stuff, but he's just not had any luck in Los Angeles since he got there.
No, and hopefully that'll turn around this season.
And they really need him.
They can use him.
So he'll be... They're saying best case scenario, he's back for opening day. Worst case, he's back late April, early May.
Right.
Pittsburgh Pirates acquire Steve Lombardozzi from the Baltimore Orioles. The Rangers sign outfielder Ryan Ludwig. Biting my tongue over here.
Lombardozzi.
Yeah. I can say Lombardozzi, but I can't say Ludwig.
The frozen tundra of Lombardozzi.
Interesting.
Not the same thing as Lambeau Field, but hey.
It's a good name. Cuban infielder Yohan Moncada. Sorry if I mispronounced it.
Johan,
that's how you pronounce it?
Johan. He's Spanish.
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure it's Johan.
Or whatever. I'm not good with these names. They're freaking me out, man.
I mean, it's like Johan, man.
I googled and I couldn't find a pronunciation, so I just went with it.
Okay, no problem.
He's declared a free agent. He's an infielder, as mentioned. He's going to get a proverbial fat cash. But the interesting thing about it is he has to sign a minor league deal, which may knock down some of the money, but he's still going to get a lot of money.
Yes.
And there's talks at the usual suspects, Red Sox, Yankees, Dodgers,
right,
all involved in that. And then late this week, we find out that Tigers DH Victor Martinez tears his left MCL. He's out an undetermined amount of time. They say best case scenario, 6 to 8 weeks. Worst case scenario, he's back mid-season.
Right.
But last time he had knee surgery on the same knee, he started off really slow, batted in like the 260s, and then after the All-Star break was on fire. So
that's the problem when once you damage one of your knees, man, it happens again. You constantly weaken it.
Yeah, and it's worse and worse. It gets worse and worse and worse. It's you may have a minor knee injury, but that minor knee injury is major because you've had previous knee injuries.
Not fun. I've been there.
Not fun at all. Moving over to the National Hockey League now. Capitals forward Alexander Ovechkin scored his 30th goal this week. Interesting because that makes him the 5th player ever to score 30 goals in 10 straight years to start his career.
Good for that dude.
Blues defenseman Kevin Shattenkirk is week to week after abdominal surgery. Interesting we mentioned him because Alexander Ovechkin was the guy who hit him that caused him to injure himself.
You bastard.
And moving over to the New York Rangers now, and a very painful injury. Goaltender Henrik Lundqvist took a shot off the throat, played the rest of that game 2 periods, and then played another game. Come to find out he has a vascular injury. Naturally, he gets hit in the throat. It's a vascular injury, which the blood is having trouble getting to his head, which can cause obviously a stroke. He's out at least 3 weeks. If you get a chance to watch the video, it's very painful.
I could imagine so.
Well, there's a lot of big mask, got the plastic around it to block the skates from going to the throat, as we've seen that happen before. And it just like a sharpshooter takes him out because he just goes down like a sack of potatoes, and it was tough to watch, that's for sure.
No, I saw the highlights. It looked like I thought he was dead.
It was, and then you could just see him flailing around, knowing that he probably can't breathe at that point.
Right, it was crazy.
Scary stuff. Hopefully he gets well soon.
Yeah, man, get well.
Moving over to the UFC, Anderson Silva defeats Nate Diaz. Unanimous decision at UFC 183, but both fail tests.
Yes.
Now, first off, Silva pre-fight on January 9th failed for Drostanolone and Andro, both out of competition. After the fight, apparently Diaz was popped for marijuana. He obviously has a medical marijuana card in California, and he almost didn't get a license to fight. They said that the Saturday before the week of the fight, he finally got okayed to fight by the commission. The license to fight, that's the word I was looking for. The discipline's to be determined, but clearly this is not a good outcome for the main event of UFC 183.
No, it's not. I mean, it's a shame that they both got busted for taking drugs, but...
Well, Nate Diaz has always been...
Yeah.
He always fails drug tests for marijuana. He doesn't care.
Right.
But the Anderson Silva thing is huge because...
Well, you know what? I mean, I almost can't fault him simply because I saw the leg.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
It was bad.
Yeah, it was brutal. I mean...
Well, and the thing, too, is it almost seems like this was a thing where he just wanted to come back.
Right.
And prove he could do it. Because after the fight, he was talking about, this may be the last time you ever see me.
Right.
And now we kind of know why.
Yeah.
It's interesting. It's tough to see one of the legends of the sport doping.
Right.
But, at some point in time, stuff like this does happen.
I was actually surprised he beat Nick Diaz.
It was a good fight, but it got... Diaz was clowning around a lot, which is what he does. But...
You can't do that against someone like Silva.
No, it was... I wish it was a little more exciting, but, for being what it was, I enjoyed it. Moving on to a couple big fights we've got coming up here. Conor McGregor set to face Jose Aldo for the UFC Featherweight Championship on July 11th in Las Vegas. That was made official this week. And we find out John Jones versus Anthony Johnson for the UFC Light Heavyweight Championship, likely to happen at UFC 187 in May. No date available for that yet because they don't have a venue, but that appears to be happening.
Just do it in the streets.
Soon.
Who needs a venue? Forget a venue.
That would be wicked.
Grab a parking lot. Go nuts.
$20 a pop, whatever.
Right, exactly.
Real quick before we move on to the next page. PGA, we've got some news about Tiger Woods. He withdraws from the Farmers Insurance Open after 12 holes due to his back flaring up. Now, we talked about it last week, Perez, but do you think we are seeing the painful end of Tiger Woods, or is this just another large bump in the road to his recovery?
At this point, I don't know. If it wasn't for the fog and them having to wait quite some time, Tiger might have been able to finish that round. He wasn't playing well. There's no guarantee he was going to miss the cut, or make the cut. But at this point, I don't know. Like I said before, he's got this nice, good boy, clean image that is actually real. When we all thought he had it before, and he's been playing horrible. He cleaned up his life, and he hasn't been able to play.
I almost think you look at how his physique used to be.
Oh yeah, he's gotten too big. Yeah.
Well, he got too big at his peak.
Right.
And then it's almost when he started to lose muscle.
Yeah.
To get back to old form, it really affected him. It really affected his game.
Yeah.
And watching the one chip that I saw on Twitter, I can't remember who had it on Vine, but I saw it on Twitter Vine through Twitter, and he was golfing about as well as I was. Like he was chipping out of the I don't know if it was a bunker.
The rough.
I think it was the rough. But he completely overshot the hole. He was probably 3-4 yards away.
Yeah, he
overshot it by 9 or 10 yards.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with him. I don't.
It seems like it's not only does it seem like his body is physically just not good, but it seems like he has a case of the yips. Bad.
Yeah, that's true.
Where he when he's not on a course playing, he's fine. Like, people watch him practice, and he looks great in practice. He gets on the course, and he's just...
I think he's just gripping.
Forgets how to play.
Yeah. He needs to relax. I think he's letting it get to him mentally.
You mentioned that last week.
I did.
You offered to buy him around and said, the rest of him's on him because he's rich.
Right. Unless he wants to throw me some loot.
Go hit a strip club.
Yeah.
Crank up the girls. Watch the chicks dance.
Hit some Denny's.
Whatever.
Grab himself another 18 holes. Literally. So, whatever.
Go for the Grand Slam that night, man.
Right, exactly.
Moving over to the NCAA now. UConn's women basketball coach Gino Auriemma wins his 900th game. And the interesting news out of Syracuse this week. The men's basketball team imposes a postseason ban on itself this year due to an ongoing NCAA investigation. They will not be able to play in the ACC or NCAA tournaments. Now, Perez, do you see this as kind of a cop-out? Because I certainly do.
Well, it was self-imposed.
Well, the thing is, but they aren't they know it's kind of like they know they're not going to be great this year. They don't have a shot to win the championship.
No, they don't have a shot to win the championship, but I believe they have an outside chance to make the tournament.
Well, they would have made the tournament, absolutely,
so,
but it's almost like we know what we have coming in future years. We know how good we're going to be. So if we nip this now, we might be able to avoid further punishment.
Excuse me. It's very possible that it's a cop-out.
And that's what a lot of people around the country think, too.
Yeah, well.
In the area and out of the area.
Whatever.
It's interesting.
They're doing what they're doing. I don't care. I like Jim Boeheim.
I think it's a smart move, to be completely honest.
Oh, absolutely.
It's a very smart move to do it in a down season where...
Get it out the way.
Yeah, a few seniors are going to be disappointed. And rightfully so.
Right.
But...
It's not like those seniors are doing anything right now.
As they say, you got to do what's best for business.
That's right.
Moving over to the National Football League now, we have a large list of news, so make sure you're listening in.
Just run with it.
Carefully. Browns wide receiver Josh Gordon formally suspended, quote, at least one season after failing a test for alcohol. His getting back in the league, I couldn't think of... I'm the reinstatement. I'm just shocked today, apparently. Josh Gordon's reinstatement is not up to the team. It's up to the NFL. He has to get a list of things he has to do perfectly and please everybody, make everybody happy.
I feel like this, though, is some BS, though. Like, I feel bad for Josh Gordon on this one.
It's to the point now where he's screwed the system enough where they're like, you're gonna have to learn from your mistakes, right? Because he has tried to look for loopholes and I didn't do this, I did do that. I only deserve to be suspended 8 games instead of 16 or 10 or whatever. And then, maybe this will be like with Justin Blackmon. Yeah, he did get busted within the last year for marijuana possession, but I believe it was that. Or maybe it was a DUI, one of the two. But he has shown that he's learned from his mistakes. And then he wants to come back. I think that's what the NFL wants to see from Josh Gordon. If you want to be a professional football player and play for the Cleveland Browns, prove it to us.
Yeah, but he thought that it was the end of his season, not the end of the NFL season, so I can understand that.
Well, but he admitted to the lapse in judgment, though. To not... Because if I thought something like that, you would call someone and say, hey, I followed the rules. How much longer do I need to follow the rules for? Like, I'm not going to go out and do a bunch of blow and screw a bunch of hookers, but, you want to know when you're under the microscope and stuff.
I can't see you doing a bunch of blow, screwing a bunch of hookers.
We all have our dark periods, Perez. Ex-Ravens defensive tackle Terrence Cody indicted on a multitude of charges pertaining to animal cruelty, including illegally owning an alligator and, I believe, animal abuse to an alligator.
How do you abuse?
I don't know.
Alligator.
I mean, I feel bad for the animals, but I don't know.
You keep them out of the water? Like what? Someone needs to tell me how you abuse alligator.
Yeah, that's very interesting.
Send me. You're not feeding them. Like, what do you?
I think it would be not feeding.
Okay. Bad job,
disrespecting them.
Why do you got an alligator in the first place?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. That's like when you hear the stories in New York City, the guys in the high rises that have animals with they have leopards and whatnot. Whatever. Hall of Famer Warren Sapp arrested for solicitation of a prostitute and assault. He was shortly fired by NFL Network after that arrest. Congratulations, Warren Sapp. Speaking of hookers and blow. Moving over to the NFL awards now. Aaron Rodgers, Green Bay Packers quarterback, is the MVP. Bruce Arians, which I may say I called this one earlier in the podcast, way earlier in the season. Bruce Arians is the first coach to win Coach of the Year in 2 years. Let me try that again. Bruce Arians is the first to win Coach of the Year twice in 3 years with 2 different teams, Arizona and Indianapolis.
Good job, dude.
Offensive Rookie of the Year, Odell Beckham Jr. of the Giants. Defensive Rookie of the Year from the St. Louis Rams, Aaron Donald. Offensive Player of the Year, DeMarco Murray from Dallas. Defensive Player of the Year, if there was any question, J.J. Watt from the Houston Texans. Comeback Player of the Year, Rob Gronkowski from the New England Patriots. Moving on to the class of 2015, Junior Seau, Tim Brown, Jerome Bettis, Charles Haley, Will Shields, Bill Polian, Ron Wolf, and Mickey Tingeloff.
You related to Ron?
I'm not. I do have an uncle named Ron, though, which is interesting.
Okay.
But no, my uncle did not run the Green Bay Packers.
That's too bad.
Arizona Cardinals promote James Betcher, I think is how you pronounce the name, outside linebackers coach to defensive coordinator. Colts linebacker DeQuell Jackson arrested after allegedly punching a pizza worker in the head over a parking spot. And that's not even the craziest news story of an arrested player this week. Packers defensive tackle LaTroy Guillen arrested for felony marijuana possession and felony firearm possession after he was pulled over for failing to maintain a single lane. Cops find 320 grams of marijuana in his car, along with $190,028.81.
The 81 cents is very important to that story.
Very important, apparently. They broke that down. Titans named Dick LeBeau assistant head coach.
Wait, let's go back for a second.
Okay.
He hit a pizza dude because of a parking spot.
Apparently, yeah, he punched the pizza guy in the head.
Wow.
He
must have really wanted that parking spot.
It's not delivery to DiGiorno. I don't know. I thought that would have been funny, but it wasn't funny.
You tried though.
Titans name Dick LeBeau, quote, assistant head coach defense. So I'm assuming he's the assistant head coach and the assistant defensive coordinator. I don't know. But he's going back with Ken Wisenhunt, who he worked with in Pittsburgh. We talked about this one. Did we talk about this one?
I don't know. What are you about to say?
I don't think so. Johnny Manziel enters rehab.
No, I don't think we talked about
We didn't talk about that. It just seemed like it's happened before. Browns quarterback Johnny Manziel enters a rehab facility. Hopefully he gets well soon, but I'm thinking that's more of a image rehab than it is a actual rehab.
Who knows? Probably.
Seattle Seahawks offer Marshawn Lynch a, quote, lucrative contract extension. $10 million next year helps him cut the cap down with a Russell Wilson extension coming. Reports state that Derek Jeter, quote, explored purchasing the Buffalo Bills, unsure if he was going to be a sole owner or part of a group, but still, that kind of shows his future plans outside of baseball.
Right.
He said he's wanted to own a team, whether it's football, baseball, whatever. He's a smart guy when it comes to stuff like that. I'm sure he'll find a good gig.
I don't know if I could see G living in upstate New York, though.
That would be interesting.
Yeah.
He could bring his girlfriend, SI swimsuit cover model Hannah Davis.
I'll be all right with that.
She's certainly a nice thing to look at.
She is. I thought they broke up, though.
No, I'm pretty sure they're still dating.
I thought like 2 weeks ago I heard of.
Maybe they did. If Derek Jeter did, he's dumb.
Yeah.
Tennessee Titans waive right tackle Michael Orr of the Blindside fame. Signed a big contract last offseason, but clearly did not live up to the contract this season.
Right.
Oakland hires Seattle linebacker coach Ken Norton to be their defensive coordinator. The Falcons were busted. The Atlanta Falcons were busted for piping fake crowd noise for the past 2 seasons and will be disciplined. Which is funny because they were piping in extra sound when the opposing offense was on the field, but the Falcons were still terrible.
That's a true story. I almost feel like who cares?
Well, it's a who cares thing, but it's a competitive balance. It's like Deflategate.
Yeah,
who cares?
But
who cares?
You go play at Seattle Stadium and those people are stupid loud.
But they're not piping in noise.
But who cares? So they're piping in noise. You're professional athletes.
It's a competitive advantage because your fans are quiet because your team sucks, so you pipe in crowd noise to make the fans louder.
You're professional athletes. You should be able to play in all situations.
That's just... It's like sabotage. They're trying to sabotage.
How are they sabotaging anything?
It's like if you're sitting here trying to work on something and I'm just like purposely screwing it up.
You ever been to Disney World?
No, I don't think I ever want to go there.
Okay, so listen. When you walk around certain parts of Disney World, okay, you'll all of a sudden smell like cotton candy. Or you'll all of a sudden smell like popcorn. And you know what's not in that vicinity? Popcorn. Or cotton candy. So you get hungry for this stuff, you go seek it out.
I feel like that's kind of like...
So Disney World's piping in like all these cents, okay? So who cares if these dudes are piping in some noise?
Communism. It's communism.
What's communism?
It's communism.
It's not communism.
It's Mickey Mouse communism.
It's a good way to get people to spend some money. So the Falcons need to feel like their fans give a hoot. So they pipe in some crowd noise. What do they do?
They're stupid. One last thing before we head to commercial break. Breaking last night, which would be Friday night. I did it again. Once a week, I always do it.
Shame we had to think about that.
The Buffalo Bills are set to sign offensive lineman Richie Incognito.
Really?
Yes.
Huh, cool.
Rex Ryan wants to improve the offensive line, and from what I read, Pro Football Focus, it was passed along by Chris Trapazzo on Twitter. If Richie Incognito completed the season where he was ousted for being a piece of crap, which he is,
Yes.
he would have ranked as the 12th best offensive lineman in the game of football. So he's still talented. He's just a piece of crap.
Right.
So if the Buffalo Bills can keep that crap under control, maybe it'll be a good signing for him.
It might be.
But if they're going to go with the ground and pound, Richie Incognito having some grit on that line might not be a bad thing.
No doubt.
Now, that being said, this is the news you need to know, people.
Now you know it.
Exactly. When we get back from this commercial break, Perez says hello to a very special someone, and then we get our weekly story.
Well, at least someone.
Stick around for more of the Better Live Than Dead podcast here on the Gear Radio Network.
While you're listening to this podcast, make sure you follow us on social media. You can follow me at WolfSHC on Twitter. You can also follow Mr. Perez at MRLG Perez. Make sure to like the podcast on Facebook. That's facebook.com/BLTD Podcast. And make sure to follow Gear Network on Twitter at GERE Network.
This free and independent sportscast is made possible when you shop the Gear Network store through Amazon. Visit GearNetwork.com and click on the Amazon banner to shop through Amazon's thousands of products at great prices delivered right to your front door. Again, that's GearNetwork.com and click the Amazon banner at the top.
All right, welcome back, peoples, to the Better Live Than Dead podcast. This is your boy, Mr. Perez.
Bringing it back from the commercial break.
That's right. That's how I do it. I always bring it back.
Well, first off, I must ask you, who do you want to say hello to this week?
This week, I'm going to say hello to Marilyn Mason. Not Marilyn Manson. I don't give two flying newtons about that dude. Her name is Marilyn Mason. Very attractive lady. She describes herself as 50 Shades of Grey. And she makes funnies, which she does. I actually became aware of her through a friend of mine who actually did a movie with her. And I started following her on Instagram and Twitter. And, yeah, she's...
I'm taking a look now as you talk, Perez.
Well, here you go. Here.
Oh, wait, right here.
Now, she's lost a ton of weight recently. So I want to give her credit for that. She's lost a whole bunch of weight. She used to be BBW or B. She's not black, so she used to be a big woman. She's lost a crap ton of weight. So good for her. Happy for her for that.
I love how you had the Instagram popped up for me to look.
I did, because I knew you were going to want to know who that was. So
it's very convenient. You make the podcast a lot easier, Perez.
You know, I try. Someone has to. So I like to say hi to Marilyn Mason. You know, it's funny because like when I tried to find her on Twitter the first time, all it would pull up is Marilyn Manson. And I was like, I don't want to follow Marilyn Manson. I don't care about Marilyn Manson.
Didn't he have tits once?
Yeah.
Okay.
Breast forms. I don't think they were real. I hope they weren't real. I don't know. If they were, whatever. If you want to be a TS, be a TS. I don't care. So, you falling asleep on me?
No, I was stretching my face.
That's Marilyn Mason right now.
I got no problem with that.
No, me neither. But
with I guess with that being said, you know what time it is, Perez.
I believe it's story time. Bring in the bumper.
Gotta hit that bumper.
Gather round, kids. It's story time with Mr. Perez.
So when I was thinking about what story I wanted to tell this week, you know, see, here's what I like about my life, is that I've lived a bunch of stuff, I've done a bunch of stuff, but every week someone does something that makes me think, you know what, I gotta tell someone this story, because this is so ridiculous. And 3 nights ago, I was sitting at the cigar shop, and a bunch of us were sitting around chatting. And let me put it to you this way: this guy said something so stupid that
How stupid was it?
It was. I understand. When I left, I immediately called my sister, who has heard a lot of my stories from stupid people, and was like, "Listen, I think I finally found someone that almost said the stupidest thing I've ever heard."
I gotta cut you off for 1 second. Sorry, but is it just I've had that happen before? Not necessarily with stupid people, but just something you hear
that you got to tell someone.
So unbelievable that the only way for you to process it,
right,
is to tell somebody else.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And I was going to text you, but I was like, no, I'll just tell him on Saturday when I do story time. So we're sitting around the shop, and the subject of homosexuality came up, and if you're gay, you're gay. Like, I don't care. I'm cool with everyone. Like, if you want to love a dude, as long as you got some love in your life, whatever. But so we were having a philosophical debate on homosexuality. And then, because we're a bunch of dudes sitting around smoking cigars, we're always a little crude. And someone happened to say, well, you know what? As long as, they don't get an STD, whatever. If they want to do it in the butt, do it in the butt. As long as they don't get AIDS, cool. So another dude who was sitting there said, well, just tell them to use lubricant. And so I jokingly was like, well, you got to use lubricant anyway. You're trying to go up in the booty hole. It's going to be pretty tight. So you should probably use lubricant anyway. And he was like, no. Like, yeah, I get that, but tell him to use lubricant so he doesn't get AIDS. I was like, what? Tell him to use lubricant so he doesn't get an STD. He was like, yeah, everyone knows that if you use lubricant, you won't get an STD.
Are you serious?
Yes, I'm dead serious. So we all sat there dumbfounded, just looking at this dude. And he was like, no, listen, I paid attention in sex ed when I was in school. If you use lubrication, you do not get an STD. And I was like, bro, like, who told you that? Like, you seriously believe that? And he was like, yeah. I was like, you, my friend, are an idiot. Lubricant is, listen, so this is going from story time to public service announcement. If you're listening to this and you believe that lubricant stops you from getting an STD, you're an idiot. It's not true. If you look at lubricant bottles, it even says, doesn't prevent disease or pregnancy. So he said, no, it does. It acts as a protective barrier. I was like, that's a condom, bro. Like, that's not lubricant. That's a condom.
Stupid people are stupid.
Bro, we mocked this dude for probably like an hour and a half straight.
I'm assuming he's the type of guy. He's the type of guy that would say, I was cleaning it and it went off.
Yeah, I think so, unfortunately. But yeah, so he literally seriously was like, use a lubricant, you don't get a disease. And then insisted that he heard that in sex ed class, which if you hearing that in sex ed class, your sex ed teacher is an idiot, you need a new teacher. Someone needs to fire that person.
Yeah, I would agree that don't even just fire that person, fire them into the moon.
Yeah, and the sad part is, that's the second stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life.
What's the stupidest thing you ever heard in your life?
So I was at MCC, Monroe Community College.
Well, there's a good reason why.
We're getting my, associate's degree.
Apologies to anybody who goes to MCC.
I know a bunch of smart people at MCC. Not a ton, but a couple. And I was taking a class on literature, movies, that sort of thing, and we would basically just talk about the things they do to perpetuate stereotypes. And we were talking about the movie Pocahontas from Disney, and how the tribe that Pocahontas was from approached Disney when they found out that Disney was going to do a movie on Pocahontas, and was like, hey, if you would like, we could assist you with that. because she was one of our people. We could tell you the story, the truth, the real story behind Pocahontas. And Disney was like, nah, we good. We got this. And they were like, but she was part of our tribe. Like, we lived it.
We have the history.
Right. And Disney was like, thanks, but no thanks. So Disney creates this movie called Pocahontas, which is not what happened. And so if you're a big Disney fan out there and you love Pocahontas and you think that's what happened in real life, you're incorrect. So we were talking about that. And we were talking about Native Americans. And someone was calling them Indians, which a lot of people do. They're not Indians. Christopher Columbus took a left when he should have took a right. He got to here, and he was like, hey, is this India? And they were like, no.
Technically, people in India are Indians.
Yes, they are. But the people here were like, no, we're not Indians. And he was like, yeah, no, I think you're Indians. They were like, no, we're not. And he was like, yeah, I think you're Indians. So this dude was calling them Indians. I said, hey, do me a favor, just for giggles, can you just call them what they are? The Native Americans. They were here first. Can you just call them Native Americans? And he said, and I quote, I thought they were called Indians because when the white people started coming over to America, all the natives left and went and formed the nation India.
Oh, my God.
And he was dead serious. Here's the sad part. Someone in the back of the room was like, oh, that kind of makes sense. No, it doesn't. If you think that makes sense, you deserve to get slapped just as much as this dude gets slapped for saying it. And so he was like, that's what I learned in history class. And I was like, what high school do you go to? So if I have kids, I do not send them there.
That is pretty pathetic.
Dude, he literally said the Native Americans left when the white people showed up to go form the nation India.
Yeah, most of them did leave because the white man decided to
kill them,
brutally kill them and take their land.
Well, that's really why they left.
Yeah, because
they didn't go anywhere.
They were killed or
yes,
pushed off to the middle of the country where no one's ever been before.
Right. So that right there, I believe, is the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
Kids, pick up a book. You go on your cell phone, Google something, read a book, read something on the internet.
Reading is fundamental.
It's actually pretty cool too.
Yeah, I like to read.
I like to read a lot. You learn a lot of stuff by reading. It's very empowering.
Yes. So pick up a book. Yeah. You know what? Listen, if you got to do an audio book, do an audio book.
If you don't know something, do what I do. Google it.
Yes.
And learn. It's not that hard. Like when I'm fixing something and I'm like, how do I fix this thing? I go to YouTube, I type a video and I watch how to do it and I learn how to do it.
Right.
I don't just, if there's something in history that I don't know or may not remember, you go to Google, type something in, a page will come up, a book will come up, a Scholastic review or whatever will come up and it will tell you the truth.
So this week's
don't be an idiot.
Right. This week's public service announcement is kids, stay in school.
Read a damn book.
Lubricant is not a STD barrier. It's literally lubricant. And the Native Americans did not leave the United States to go form the nation India, and that's why we call them Indians. That's all incorrect. So take Ryan's advice and go read a book. We would appreciate that. Sometimes I fear for the next generation of people. And dude, listen, I feel bad for the kids in school right now because I've seen this Common Core math.
Oh my God, that's.
And I don't know
when I was finishing high school, they started introducing that, and I would always, I was in the upper math, but I would always get yelled at because it would be like, what's 300x times 194y, figure out what z is, and I would do it the right way, and they would say, well, you didn't do it the way we are teaching you to do it, so it's wrong. And I'm like, you, I'm doing what I want.
Yeah, Common Core math, dude, is the most ridiculous math I've ever seen. I don't even know how these people came up with Common Core math. I don't know who was like, hey, let's ask them if you take 5 apples and 2 oranges, and then you drive 10 miles, and there's 4 people in the car, and you get a flat tire. How many grapes do you have? I don't even know.
How's that going to help me in life?
Right.
When I'm working at my job and I'm counting money for someone, do I go, well, if you give me $100 and I need to give you back $20, How many pieces of gum do I have in my backpack?
Yeah, it doesn't even make sense.
Like what?
Right.
No.
I don't know who came up with Common Core math, but it's ridiculous. And it's just hurting our kids.
Everybody's going to be dumb.
You ever seen the movie Idiocracy?
No, I have. I probably should.
Well, no. Yeah, you should go watch it at least once.
Okay.
Because it's an extremely stupid movie, but there's a lot of really funny parts.
Okay.
And the sad part is, like, I see some things in Idiocracy that are, like, taking place right now. And I fear for my world. I don't want to leave the world. I just fear for it.
Kids these days are lazy.
Oh, yeah. Dude, it's ridiculous.
And are on their cell phones.
Well, hey,
It's funny because I can see, now that I'm getting a little older, not too old, but I see a generation under me developing. And I'm like the generation before me. I'm like, those damn kids and their cell phones.
Social skills are going right out the window.
Oh, absolutely.
See people sitting at the same table texting each other. Like, talk. Use words.
Exactly.
Use your words. You ever see Hancock?
No.
So there's a part in it where the criminals are sitting around and the head criminal's like, use your words. Because the dude didn't want to actually speak. He just kind of wanted to grunt it.
It reminds me of that part from Goon.
Right. Yeah.
Use your big boy words.
Right. So he's like, use your words. That's how I feel about these kids. Like, use your words.
Well, that's one thing I won't let happen, man. You gotta. I mean, yeah, I understand. Technology. It's there. You can't deny it. But put your phones down. Go outside. Do something with your life. Do something productive. Something constructive.
Or use your phones to go take pictures of the nature.
Get in
outdoors.
Trouble. Have some fun.
Right. Like, my one phone's got a 20 megapixel camera on it. I can take some incredible photos.
Yeah.
Use it to go take pictures of nature.
Go for a walk.
Yes.
Just don't walk in front of a bus.
That'd be bad. I've seen it happen.
With that being said, story time with Mr. Perez.
That's right.
Has now concluded. For another week. When we get back.
Hi, Marilyn Mason.
Hello. When we get back here on the Better Live Than Dead podcast, we are going to talk about the National Football League, Super Bowl 49 in the books.
Clicks.
What happened? Well, you're going to have to stick around to find out. Right after these commercial breaks here on the Better Live Than Dead podcast.
John Cimino here, a.k.a. JC Money, inviting you all of you listeners, to join us on the Gear Radio Network once a week for Get Ready America, where JC and DC, the executive producer, my co-host Don Cimino, will be talking news, sports, whatever comes to our mind. It's a variety show that goes all over the place. It's awesome. You should check it out on Gear Network every week. A successful product does not become a successful product on its own. Look at the Gear Radio Network, for example. We're a prime example. We had a lot of help getting here, and we can help you get where you want to go to. Advertising rates are very low to start off here on the Gear Radio Network. Visit us at gearnetwork.com. Click on the contact link to send us an email, and we can work out the details. Again, advertise your product across all of the forums at a low rate here on the Gear Radio Network.
As well, stacked receivers, two to the right. Russell Wilson extends the hands he has. Wilson, quick throw, and it's intercepted! Intercepted by Malcolm Butler! Butler has it at the one! Malcolm Butler stepped in front of the throw! No way! And the Patriots have possession with 20 seconds to go in Super Bowl 49 with a 4-point lead over the Seahawks.
It's got to be one of the dumbest calls offensively in Super Bowl history. You are on the 1-yard line, and you have number 24, and you drop back pass. Are you kidding me?
Back here on the Better Live Than Dead podcast. Talking the National Football League. Obviously, as you can tell by that bumper, the New England Patriots are your Super Bowl champions. The fourth title under Bill Belichick and Tom Brady.
I don't really feel like I need to say anything else. I feel like that bumper covered it all.
I'll tell you what, the guys over on 98.5 The Sports Hub in Boston, they did a great job. They did a phenomenal job, and that's a call, obviously, that's going to
live in infamy.
Last for a very long time now. The New England Patriots defeat the Seattle Seahawks 28-24, Super Bowl 49. As the wise Ric Flair has said many times many a time in his existence, to be the man,
You got to beat the man.
you got to beat the man. And that's what the Patriots did. Seahawks get back to the Super Bowl. We're 1 yard away from defending their title.
One.
And the question right out of the chute, Perez. Would you have run the ball?
Absolutely.
I agree with you on that, but here's the thing. Looking back at the All-22, I believe is what it is, where you get the game film and all that stuff. The play at the time when Russell Wilson looked at the receiver and threw the ball, the lane was wide open.
Yes, he could have ran it in.
I feel like if you did that play 100 times, you get that result once, the interception. Malcolm Butler, to me at least, it appears that he made the perfect read of that play.
Absolutely.
He it was everything happened precisely. They talked about it on Sports Science. They said something like a half of a millisecond was his response. He saw the wide receiver go into a slant and instantly planted and ran. If he had waited a little longer,
right,
wouldn't have made it.
He has said that he had seen them run that play before and was expecting that play.
The whole thing about that play was nuts. Malcolm Butler was a late substitution.
Yep.
Because they had a linebacker on the wide receiver.
Yep.
I think it was Akeem Ayers was the guy that came over from Tampa Bay was on the wide receiver. And the interesting thing about it was one of the wide receivers was actually blocking downfield, which you can't do until the pass is thrown. So that would have been interesting to see what happened there. But one of the craziest finishes to a Super Bowl I've seen in a long time.
First of all, it was a good Super Bowl.
Very good Super Bowl. The first half was kind of
shaky, but I enjoyed the game.
Then Katy Perry and the Shark showed up, which they were the real MVP of that thing.
The Shark was awesome.
Sharks were great.
Yes. Katy Perry's outfit during the Shark was awesome.
The more you know.
Yes.
The whole thing was great. Katy Perry was great.
Yeah, you know what? Katy Perry was great. Lenny Kravitz was pretty cool.
Missy Elliott
tore it up.
Oh, absolutely.
So I was like, look at Missy. Go, girl. Missy tore it up. That was fun. It was actually a pretty good halftime show.
Yeah. The whole thing, like the start to finish, the whole Super Bowl was great.
Yeah, I have to agree with you there. I thought it was a great game. I feel like, what was he thinking? Like, that's my...
Well, the play call was... And when you hear the audio from Russell Wilson, from Pete Carroll after it happened, they just don't... Nobody knows what happened. It kind of was just a miraculous play from the Patriots. I mean, out of 109 attempts in opponent's territory at the 1 yard line all season, of 109 attempts, that was the first time season. The last play of the season,
they threw it.
Not the last play of the season, but the last play for the Seahawks season was a pick.
Oh yeah, because he would have been in the end zone. Like, that would have been a touchdown.
Yeah, I mean, you could have ran Marshawn Lynch, but what if he gets stacked up?
Right.
You can't like they say, you can't predict ball.
No.
It's unfortunate because even Russell Wilson in the audio after the game, talking to Pete Carroll, almost said, we should have ran the ball. He goes, he said along the lines of, we should have, never mind.
Yeah, well, you're standing there in hindsight being 2020.
Absolutely.
You don't know what to think.
And that's always the most important thing. I mean, it sucks looking back on it now, going, well, if this happened differently, if that happened differently, but
here's the thing. Not only do you have Marshawn Lynch who can run the ball, but you got Russell Wilson who can run the ball.
Yeah.
Either one of those two.
I mean, Patriots were in goal line defense expecting a run, and they got a pass, and
the miracle happened.
I mean, if Malcolm Butler had hit the guy any differently, it would have been an incomplete pass. They would have had another chance, but he just lifted the arm, grabbed the ball, and it was phenomenal.
Yeah, it was interesting.
Now, after the game, Marshawn Lynch says, quote, when he was asked if he was surprised that at the play call, he said, quote, "No, we play football. It's a team sport."
Yes.
Saying the right things. But offensive coordinator Darrell Bevell raised some eyebrows when he said, quote, "We could have done a better job staying strong on the ball."
Right.
Calling out his wide receivers, making a few people mad. On their team at least. But Tom Brady,
I don't even know if you could have stayed strong on that. I mean, the dude jumped right in front of it.
It was again, I keep going back to the audio. Go check out the audio and listen. Like, Russell Wilson's one of the smartest guys in football. He's brilliant when it comes to playing quarterback. And when you ask him what happened, and he goes, "I'm not sure if he jumped the route. I'm not sure if he bumped him. I'm not sure if he was just there before him." He goes, "It just happened."
It looked like there was some contact, but he was there. I mean, he didn't have to rip the ball out the dude's hands or anything. He took the ball away.
Malcolm Butler will never have to buy a drink in Boston again.
Probably not.
Bill Belichick and Tom Brady, 21st postseason victory, most ever. Tom Brady has 13 Super Bowl touchdowns, the most ever. Tom Brady becomes the third quarterback ever with 4 Super Bowl rings, joining Joe Montana and Terry Bradshaw, and he's the second player to ever win 3 Super Bowl MVPs along with Joe Montana. Now, the question I have for you, Perez, something I discussed with John of Get Ready America during the week. Do you believe Tom Brady is the best quarterback ever?
No.
Who do you believe the best quarterback ever is?
I don't know. I think it's a toss-up. See the game. Excuse me. I need to take a sip of water. Why don't you talk?
I'm gonna run off with my idea real quick and then I'll let you go. See, what I think is yes, there's credence to Joe Montana being the greatest quarterback ever because he was 4-0 in the Super Bowl, whatever. Brady's been to 6, he's won 4. If it wasn't for Eli Manning, he would have probably ended up winning 6, and we would have had this conversation. But I more or less, in a nutshell, to save time, I think it's Montana was the greatest of his era. Brady is the greatest of his era. I don't think you're ever going to be able to, unless Brady wins another Super Bowl, you're not going to be able to sit there and definitively say Brady's better than Montana, Montana's better than Brady, because you look at who Montana had offensively compared to what Brady had.
So saying the era thing is the way to do it. I think Joe Montana was a better quarterback, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But you have to look at the era, and you have to look at how the game is played in those respective eras. The game nowadays is played in a way that protects the quarterback more than ever. The quarterbacks are pretty coddled when it comes to football players.
Like when it comes to the end of this era, sorry to interrupt you, Perez, but when it comes to the end of this era, when 20 years from now, we'll probably end up having 5 or 6 quarterbacks from this era be in the top 10 of passing yards because that's what the game is.
Yes, and back when Joe was playing, you didn't have those rules.
Although he did have a crap load of talent on his team.
Oh, he did have a crap load of talent on his team. But he didn't have the rules that you have now to protect the quarterback. If Joe Montana had the rules that you have now to protect the players, he could have rattled off a whole bunch of wins. He would probably be on top of the stat boards on everything. Or someone like Troy Aikman. I mean,
it's hard. It's hard to sit here and say like if Joe Montana played now, if Tom Brady played then. But I mean, I'm at least glad we can have the conversation we both can agree on. It starts with championships. I understand it's a team thing. Championships are a team thing. But if you individually have that many championships,
right?
Because I argue with people a lot about Brady and Manning. I'm a Bills fan. But I will argue to the end of the earth that Tom Brady is better than Peyton Manning just solely based on the fact
he's got 4 rings.
He has 4 Super Bowl championships. Because when it comes down to it, when you look back on it, that's what defines your legacy.
If you look at the off-season, not the off-season, the post-season, the playoffs, I don't think there's any doubt that Tom Brady's a better quarterback. If you put him in the regular season, Peyton Manning is a better quarterback.
Absolutely.
But Peyton Manning doesn't have the head for the pressure cooker. He can't get over that hump. So Tom Brady is definitely a better quarterback.
Now looking back on a prediction from EA Sports, it's kind of eerie how it happened. EA Sports predicted a 28-24 Patriots victory with a late Edelman touchdown to the left. And what happened? A 28-24 victory by the Patriots with a late Edelman touchdown to the left.
That's weird.
And it's funny with that play, too, because they called that play before, and Brady was too fast getting the ball to Edelman. They'd called the same exact play, same exact spot, and then they ran it again, which they won the game on. So if first you don't succeed, try again, and it might just work. Crazy thing.
That's weird.
Speaking of crazy, too, 114.4 million people watched the Super Bowl, making it the most watched program ever. And nearly half of United States-owned televisions had the game on.
Nice.
That's nuts.
That is pretty nuts.
Now,
I'm surprised by that. You see a lot of Super Bowls that tend to be kind of regional.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's a heck of a lot of people watching this game.
A lot of people watching football.
Nice.
That's why football will never die, most likely, until Roger Goodell flies the football plane to the ground. But
which he's going to.
I've got some interesting news for you regarding the Patriots.
Okay.
I don't know if you saw the internet this week, but Julian Edelman is making his rounds. Enjoying the fruits of his postseason. So was Rob Gronkowski. He was in...
Gronk was pretty funny.
Drunk, sloppy, spiking roses on TMZ for $50.
Yes.
Torn pants. A girl on Tinder hooked up with Julian Edelman, and she took a picture in bed with him saying, "Yo, I totally just effed Edelman." And that was her main picture on Tinder.
Wow.
And it was a pass out Julian Edelman. And then apparently this week there was a party at Harvard, one of the frat houses or whatever.
Okay.
I didn't get the name of the house, but one of the more popular places to party at Harvard, and some Patriots showed up. Apparently they left with a group of women because they're Super Bowl champions. But the interesting story coming out of that was that rumor has it that Danny Amendola was there, and a girl wanted to arm wrestle Danny Amendola, and apparently dude snapped her arm in half.
Oh, that's not good.
That's the rumor. Now, it's unconfirmed, but we're still waiting.
Yeah. That would be bad.
That's a damn good story.
That poor girl.
That's like Project X.
Yeah.
In real life,
Did you see Gronk on Jimmy Kimmel?
Oh my God,
it was hilarious talking about the fight. He was like,
the last game of the season, I wanted to punch somebody.
Well, yeah, first he was like, I didn't do that. And then he was like, no, don't find me, Roger. That wasn't me. That wasn't me, Roger. Like, that was pretty funny.
And then he was like, yeah, I wanted to do it.
Yeah.
And then he got fined.
Then he was like, got to protect my quarterback. Which is true.
Now, I think the Seahawks are set up, obviously, still for future long-term success. The Patriots, I don't know if I don't think the Patriots dynasty will be over until Brady and Belichick retire. But Brady's got, barring bad health, probably 4 to 5 more years. That's crazy to think because he's 38 now, but he could probably play for another 4 or 5 seasons. If he stays at the way he is this year,
right?
He could probably play for another 4 or 5 years.
We'll see.
He's got 2 years left on his deal now, so we'll see how much more he wants to play at the end of that contract when he turns 40.
I think it's the twilight of his career.
Absolutely.
He has nothing left to prove. Unless he wants to win another Super Bowl.
He's a competitor, though, and that right there will...
Go spend time with your supermodel wife. That's what I would do. It's not like you need the money.
He's got the rest of his life to do that, though.
True.
If he wants to be the greatest ever, go win another Super Bowl.
Still would have made him the greatest ever.
I think it would.
Yeah.
It's a conversation for a later time, though. When he wins his 6th Super Bowl, we can talk about it.
6? He's not going to win 6. The Patriots can't win 6.
5.
Yeah, you have to win 5
I was thinking
first.
about 6 about games he's been in. Yeah, 5. No, I think if he gets to 5, that could certainly spark the conversation of who's the greatest ever. I mean, we're already going to have the conversation now, but it's not going to be Brady Manning. It's going to be Brady Montana, which is a testament to him.
I'm making a bold prediction right now.
Okay.
Cowboys win the Super Bowl next year.
Oh, Christ. You want to drink that Kool-Aid over there?
That's my team, dude. You know who's not going to win the Super Bowl next year?
Who?
The Buffalo Bills.
Okay.
So,
You can talk as much crap as you want to. I know it's not going to happen. So
Rex Ryan with his Vajenko.
Rex Vajenko Ryan. Whatever. The Vajenko always makes an appearance here on the Better Live Than Dead podcast.
Your mom's was funny with that, by the way.
Dude, it was that. Her reaction was priceless.
Oh, I laughed hard.
Said, "What's a Vajenko?" And no one responded. Then she said, "Oh my God, I just Googled it."
Well, she Googled it pretty quick.
Well, I'm thinking because she was waiting for someone to respond,
right.
And then no one responded, and her curiosity got the best of her, which I'm sure that won't happen again.
I'm hardly ever on Facebook, so I didn't see it at first,
Well, my Facebook, for some reason, it keeps telling me I have a notification, and I don't because
dude, this happened to me too.
They must want us to download Messenger, and I won't download Messenger.
I have Messenger on my phone.
I won't do it.
Whatever.
I just don't want to.
Right.
I don't want people bothering me.
I don't care.
People bother me enough already.
People bother me, I ignore it. So, whatever. That's how I feel.
Well, it's good to know that I'm not ignored by you, Perez.
No.
It warms the cockles of my heart.
He said cockles. Dude, I don't want to warm your cockles. You know what I'm saying?
I'm glad you picked up on that.
Of course I did. You make a dirty joke, I'm going to pick up on it. Like, the way I think is ridiculous. But, yeah, dude.
No, you say hello to porn stars every week in the podcast. I'm not sure where your mind is at, Perez.
Every week. Every week.
Call me some. I'm just trying to make a point. I'm having a parade and you're just pissing all over it.
Every week? One time?
A couple times.
Couple times. Well, I don't really consider it okay. No, I don't really. That's.
Well, it depends. It depends.
The Suicide Girls really are.
You're not really a porn star unless you're actually performing in pornography. So I mean, even if a porn star is just taking pictures, is she really a porn star?
I don't know. I don't really consider them porn stars.
We need to get on. We need to get on Get Ready America sometime soon. Have this conversation,
right?
Or just have our own Get Ready America. We'll just clip out their bumpers and stuff.
Exactly.
And make our own podcast.
That'd be fun.
It'll be like a bootleg.
Right.
We'll have a bootleg Get Ready America.
Exactly. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, obviously there are aspects of porn to the Suicide Girls, especially when they're like getting it on with each other. But they don't all do that. They tend to just kind of take photos of themselves. So I don't know if I really consider that.
Well, even if you're taking naked pictures of yourself, is that just like a model? Because you're not a porn star if you're just taking naked pictures of yourself. I don't think, at least.
And like I said, I follow them on Instagram.
You know what? We have a lot of conversations on this podcast, and I don't think we've both ever been this confused about a topic.
Right.
This is interesting.
Yeah, I follow them mostly on Instagram, where you can't post naked photos.
Yeah.
So I don't really see the naked aspect.
So maybe they're a model.
Yeah.
But then again, they're always a model. I don't know.
Hey, listeners, let us know what you think.
What makes someone a porn star?
Hit us up on Twitter or Facebook.
Even if they're like they are a porn star because they perform in pornographic films,
right?
But if they're not performing in pornographic films and just posting photos of themselves or like a video, does that still make them a porn star? I don't know.
Think so.
Get at us on the Twitter and the Facebook and the Gear Network, and email John and let him know what you think.
Or email us, or hit us up on Twitter.
I was hoping that somebody would just send John an email about porn, and he'd be like, "Why the hell is somebody?"
I don't really think that's a good idea. Just gonna throw that out there.
Try not to get John in trouble.
Right.
We might get John in trouble.
Unintentionally.
With that being said, Perez, I'm tearing up over here because it's the end of football.
It is the end of football. I said to my wife that day, the sad part about this is, she was like, what? I was like, football's over.
We actually have to find something to talk about in the podcast.
Well, isn't there, doesn't Arena League start up right about now?
I don't know. We could probably find something.
I love Arena League football.
Oh, Arena football is good.
Yeah, I love it.
Especially because one team's owned by Vince Neil from Motley Crue, one team's owned by Kiss, Paul and Gene from Kiss. So it's fun. I can get interested in it that way. But
John Bon Jovi used to own one.
Oh, John Bon Jovi's such a dickhead. And I'm not bleeping that out because he really is a dickhead.
I've heard that about him.
Yeah, he's...
Well, when you
like Dennis Leary says, we can get Motley Crue in a room full of drugs and they come out alive, but we can't get Bon Jovi in a helicopter.
That's messed up. But hey, when you've seen a million faces and you've rocked them all.
Well, I believe it's the we lost Stevie Ray Vaughan in a helicopter accident, one of the greatest guitar players ever, but we can't get John Bon Jovi in a helicopter.
Yeah, I think that's what it was.
That was the joke. Talking about how you could put Motley Crue in a room full of drugs and they come out and they're like, yeah, where's more drugs, man?
Right.
Some people just got it, I guess. But with that being said, we'll talk about football next month. I believe March 10th is the free agency.
Yes.
Beginning of that. So the week before that, we'll discuss and we'll talk a lot about free agency and where Des Bryant will play next season.
Better be the Cowboys.
Probably will end up being Dallas. But we can joke about it. We can have some fun.
No,
Des Bryant to the Cleveland Browns. Make it happen.
Who's going to throw him the ball?
A golfer with an arm growing out of his ass. I don't know.
That'd be weird.
With that being said, we say goodbye to the 2014-2015 National Football League season. The New England Patriots are your Super Bowl champions for better or for worse. When we get back from commercial break here on the Better Live Than Dead podcast, we're going to say goodbye. We're going to close up shop. Say our thank yous.
Just for this week.
Just for this week. We're not going anywhere. You can't get rid of us that easy, people.
Nope.
Stick around for more after this. Woo! Perez, I must ask you.
What ask me?
How did you do this year in fantasy football?
Man, I don't want to talk about it.
Well, guess what?
I don't want to talk about it, man.
I've got good news for you.
What?
FanDuel
allows
you to win all that money back that you lost.
That's good because I lost a lot of money
in fantasy football. But here's the catch.
What's the catch?
Fantasy hockey, fantasy basketball, 1 week leagues.
That doesn't sound like a catch to me.
You can win a lot of money.
I like that.
Just like you did with the fantasy football on FanDuel, you can win it with hockey, with basketball. Check it out, GearNetwork.com/FanDuel. You get the money on FanDuel. You help us out over at the Gear Network. We get money, you get money. Everybody's happy, and Perez is happy because he won all that money back.
I'll be real happy with that.
Fantasy football, which he lost because, well, Perez is really bad at fantasy football.
Oh, man, don't even talk about it.
Do you enjoy listening to Better Live Than Dead, but you're not always by your laptop to hear it on GearNetwork.com? Not to worry, we've got you covered. Better Live Than Dead and all other Gear Network podcasts can now be heard on iHeartRadio, iTunes, in the Zune Marketplace, on SoundCloud, Spreaker, Stitcher Radio, and on TuneIn Radio. So make sure you get one of the aforementioned apps to stay up to date with the latest Gear Network podcasts.
It's closing time here at the Better Live Than Dead podcast.
You don't got to go home.
But you can't stay here.
Man.
29th episode.
I mean, technically, we don't know where they're listening from, so I guess they can stay.
Well, you can't stay here like on the podcast. So
No.
we're not going anywhere.
Right.
I mean, it's like you come over to my house. If I got to go somewhere, I'm not. I mean, unless I know you, you're not going to be able just to chill on my couch. You know?
I just hang out with your sister and Tony.
Whatever. That's fine. I don't mind that.
Do they listen to this podcast?
Oh, they better. They probably don't.
I'm just curious. Because I was going to say something.
They're assholes. They're assholes. They don't listen to my podcast.
That's not what I was going to say.
What are you going to say?
I was actually... I don't know. I'm not going to
No, you can say it. Say it.
I was going to say, what I noticed today was that your sister actually has nice legs. They're pale, but they're shapely. They're nice.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all.
I'm sure my dad will laugh at this as he listens to it. I want to say thank you to, first off, you, Perez, for being here this week.
Hey, thanks for having me.
We both seem a little under the weather. I have a sore throat, and you're just...
I'm sniffly.
Yeah, you're like a snot
ridiculous.
machine over there. It is what it is.
Stupid.
It's February. I mean...
But you know what, though? Here's what I've noticed. It kind of happens to me when I step into this house.
This house is really dry.
Yeah, I'm actually... When I leave here... I got to go to work. I just got to hit 3 stores. When I'm done with that, I'm actually planning to go into Target and buy a humidifier for my house, because my house is pretty dry too, and it's bad when I touch a metal substance and there's an actual spark.
That's what I like about going to my brother's house, who I actually watched the Super Bowl with, which was interesting because he's a Patriots fan. He woke up. He woke Jason up, and Jason was not very happy.
I can imagine.
Yeah, a small child who was woken up by a bunch of screaming.
Right.
But they have like a humidifier built into their furnace.
Yeah.
So whenever the heat comes on, it's always kind of...
Yeah.
But here, I mean, it's just really dry.
I think my furnace has one of those too, but I've never actually utilized it.
Maybe you should check it out.
I should.
Before you go out and spend money on a humidifier.
Yeah, it's like $25. I only really need to humidify one room, and it's the room I keep my cigars in.
That's a good point, yeah.
Yeah, it's important.
Very good point, because if they don't, then everything will be dry and
yeah, you don't want that.
It tastes terrible.
Well, I mean, I keep my boxes, my humidors, obviously, with humidification in it, but it's so dry in my house that my humidification process is having a hard time keeping the humidification inside my boxes where I want it. So I'm gonna go buy myself a
So
little
your box
humidor.
is not wet enough. Look on your face was priceless.
Oh no!
Thank you. I'll be here all week. Make sure to tip your waiters and waitresses.
We'll try to feel.
Exactly. Thank you to every single one of you for sticking around, listening to our random musings and terrible, dirty jokes on a podcast.
Happens.
That was I have to say, I enjoyed that one. That was a good one.
That was a good one.
I caught you off guard. The look on your face was priceless.
You did. I wasn't expecting that, but because I don't have a box.
Pitchers and catchers report soon, which is good.
They do.
Next week's podcast, I don't know what we're going to talk about because I got to be honest. There's nothing going on. I mean, there's basketball and hockey, but everything's kind of in the mid-season form, so it is what it is at this point. So we'll find stuff to talk about. We'll be here.
Yeah, we'll come up with something. We'll be here.
We may have a 15-minute podcast next week, but we'll be back next week with more discussions and podcastings and stories.
That's right.
Follow us on Facebook. Follow us on Instagram. I'm at WolfSHC. Perez is at MRLG Perez.
I was right.
Same on Twitter, at WolfSHC, at MRLG Perez. Facebook is facebook.com/BLTD Podcast. I got my taxes back.
Did you know?
So we may have stickers and T-shirts. Not soon,
But soonish.
But in the future, it's certainly a possibility now.
Stickers would be cool.
Well, plus I'm going to see my kind of breaking the fourth wall. I'm going to see my barber this afternoon, and he may or may not be interested in sponsoring the Better Live Than Dead podcast. So
Nothing wrong with that.
Got to keep pushing it on him.
What's up, barber dude?
What's up, Christopher?
I'd come to you because you can always use a good barber, but I shave my head, so I don't really need a barber.
Well, maybe we could work it out. One of these times we'll get you in there, and when he gets a shop set up, and when we do a podcast, we'll say, hey,
just do it from there.
He does, because he does do the
he does straight blade.
Oh man, amazing stuff. It's good.
But
work.
does he do a actual straight blade, or does he have the replaceable straight blade?
I think he has the flip up one.
They all flip up.
It's old school one. I don't know.
You sure?
It's
one solid metal piece.
I can ask him.
Or replaceable, because I have an old school straight blade.
I know he's all about the old school stuff, like the.
You know what? If you see him today, do me a favor. Ask him how he keeps it sharp, because I have a strop and all that, but for some reason my straight blade went dull on me, and I can't use it anymore, and it's driving me nuts. If he has a way to sharpen it, I'll give you my straight blade for him to sharpen for me.
Okay.
If he's okay with that.
I'm sure he'd be fine with it.
So.
Well, he's and you'll learn this, because I'll have to introduce you to him. I think you guys get along well, but he's into the old time barber. Like he wants.
Right. No, I've seen the pictures.
Yeah, he wants to keep everything as old timey as possible. It's like the shop itself is going to be like walking into a time machine, and that's going to be phenomenal. Pretty cool. So. Good stuff coming up there, but cheap plugs running amok on the Better Live Than Dead podcast. But for myself, Ryan Wolf,
and I'm Mr. Perez,
we are Better Live Than Dead.
You're not.
Saying we will see you next week, same time, same place.
Adios, peoples.
Better Live Than Dead here exclusively on the Gear Radio Network.
Hi, Marilyn Mason.
Have a good one, my friends.